I hear voices in my head. Don't be afraid. They're mostly under control. There's so many different voices that influence me, and I think influence all of us. Voices of my past, voices of our human past, voices of commerce, voices of media, of commercials. So many different voices calling to me. But there's this one voice that I've been really learning to pay a lot more attention to lately. So for me, it began without voice. I was raised by alcoholic parents. And if there's one thing about alcoholics is they don't usually notice very much around them. They don't notice anything or anyone because they're so busy fighting their own demons. So essentially, a lot of my growing up, I didn't even exist. A lot of my youth was marked by and surrounded by pain. Sexual and physical abuse towards my mother, and verbal abuse towards us all constantly. And I didn't have a voice, and I had no ability to control anything that was happening to me or around me. And when I needed someone, anyone, to say or do something, no one did. Our neighbors knew what was going on, but nobody did anything. So fast forward a few years for me, I'm in university, and I'm sitting around with a group of friends. We just were out on a night at the pub, and the conversation turns to ice cream, and my buddy Steven's going off about how much he loves Tiger ice cream, and the next person starts talking about how much they love a particular type of ice cream, and I'm watching this conversation make its way around the room, headed towards me, and I start getting this small terror building up inside of me. I'm realizing I don't have an answer to that question. I don't know what my favorite ice cream is, but that's not why I'm terrified. I'm terrified because that is the moment that I realize no one has ever made space for my voice in the world. And that's also the moment that I realized that I do have a voice. That was the seed that started it all for me. So fast forward a few years, and I guess I went on to get some modicum of success as an IT project manager. I did that for about 13 years. And that part of my life was really a period where my voice ebbed and flowed. So I was doing my contracts, I was doing my work like a diligent employee would, part of the machine, and I couldn't hear my voice. I heard all those other voices overpowering mine. But then I'd go away on break, take a holiday, and there it was, my best voice. I could hear my best voice. And then sure enough, I'd get back into the work world, into the routine, into the box, into the convention. And my voice, my best voice, would disappear again and be overtaken by all these other voices. And it went on that way for, like I said, about 13 years, until one trip full of fate to Nepal. I found myself in this small town called Pokhara, getting ready for a trek in the Himalayas. So I was spending a few days getting ready, staying at this guest lodge, and every day I'd see the same group of kids playing outside my guest lodge. I noticed this one kid in particular. He had this great big smile, full of life. He seemed to be the leader of the pack. He was enjoying himself so much. And I looked at him and I thought, man, what a great kid. And then I'd see them every day, and I noticed that day after day the kid was wearing the same t-shirt. And I remember thinking to myself with my Western eyes, isn't that cute? I used to do the same thing. I wore my favorite t-shirt every single day. It drove my mom absolutely crazy. She had to peel it off me. But then I realized that was his only t-shirt. And it was as if some magical spell of 33 years had been broken in that moment. And I'm not kidding, right before my eyes, it was like this elaborate illusion was dismantling, and my frequency of what I was seeing and hearing completely changed. And I started noticing that, wow, the other kids don't even have t-shirts. He's one of the lucky ones. And then I started to notice that his t-shirt was actually paper thin. It was almost falling off his body with a stiff breeze. Wow, nothing like a 10-day trek in the Himalayas to rethink your entire life. So eventually I made my way back to Calgary, downtown condo. I threw my bags in my closet, and with this illusion melting away, there, where I used to see a bunch of different outfits and different styles for different events, now I saw 10 lifetimes worth of clothing hanging there. For the first time, I was seeing how much of a lie and how insane it was where we'd drawn the line between need and want in our world. And I'd also seen, for the first time, my active participation in creating that lie, in creating that illusion. It was me. Man, waves of guilt, waves of shame. I'm sure many have felt that similar feeling when you start to wake up. And I know guilt and shame are such cliches, but man, when you're looking in the mirror and what's staring back at you is all the lies you used to fabricate a life that you're living, it's not a cliche. It shakes you to the core. So I decided I need to learn more. I needed to learn a lot more. So I started reading books and surfing websites and talking to people and watching movies and listening to the poets and the prophets. I was trying to figure out what got us to this point in our human history. How could we really let a kid die in our world, in my world, for lack of a 20-cent medicine? And I was also looking for a way out of the mess we'd gotten ourselves into. Along that journey of trying to understand what was going on, this quest for knowledge actually turned into genuine listening. And then that genuine listening turned into actual authentic understanding. And then, quite unexpectedly, that turned into hope. Along that journey of learning, I found out 2 facts on one particular day in one 24-hour period. And whenever the universe or God gives me consistent information on one topic, I perk up my ears and start to listen. I learned that in North America, we spend over $1 trillion every year on wholesale and retail during the holiday season alone. And then quite quickly after that, I heard that the World Bank was estimating that $50 billion annually, if spent properly, would be enough to get the poorest countries out of poverty in a lasting way if we did it right. 5% of what we spend at Christmas alone could change the world. Are you kidding me? We could do this. The numbers alone were screaming, we could do this. So it's pretty exciting to realize that you finally have a voice in the world. Yeah, it's a little less exciting when that voice tells you to sell everything that you own and try to end global poverty. But all I could think was how underwhelming to live a life based on the idea or the thought or the voice that was saying, yeah, the world's messed up. Just try and get some for yourself and try to be happy. And conversely, what a wild adventure to actually try to end poverty. Are you kidding me? It's like a video game. It's amazing. What an adventure. We actually get to do this stuff. So I was all in. I quit my job, sold my stuff, and spent a year developing a plan on how to end poverty. The fruit of which, part of which, is UEnd, the organization that I started. Everyday people, like us, participate in ending poverty. But why? Why did I listen to that voice? Why? A friend of mine's been bugging me for over a year with the same question. Jay, why do you do the work you do? And I came up with the same pat answer. Oh, some t-shirt in Paul's story, something. I don't know. I care about poverty. It just moves me. I don't know why. Until recently, she asked me one more time. She asked me, Jay, what happened to you in your life that made you choose this path? The lights went on. Suddenly I realized and remembered one of the books that I read called Voices of the Poor. Basically a survey of over 10,000 people living in extreme poverty, cutting across gender, race, religion, age, nation. And you want to know what poor people say the worst part about being poor is? It's not lack of cash or lack of stuff or a smaller BMW. It's that they have no voice. No one hears them. And it's that they have no influence in their world, no levers of control. Life is happening to them. There it was. There it is. Why am I so crazy about wanting to help people in extreme poverty? Because I saw myself in them, living in a world of pain, no one helping out, the world happening to them, and the world just standing by and watching and doing nothing. Wow, what a freedom from unlocking that truth. The next truth that unlocked based on that one for me personally was I started to understand that guilt and shame that I started to feel right at the beginning of my journey. I recognized that I was my neighbor from my youth. I was standing by. I knew what was going on in the world, and I chose to do nothing. Amazing personal freedom and understanding comes from this stuff. So for me, I suddenly understood a lot of my journey. why I spent 13 years working with youth groups and counseling kids, why I spent 5 years volunteering in soup kitchens feeding the homeless, why I get such a charge out of listening to my friends and work through our problems together. It's because I'm providing voice for people. I'm providing a space for their voice. If that's not enough, it gets even better. So that truth unlocked yet another truth for me, and this one is probably the most significant to date. I recognize that I, right here, right now, as a person in North America, feel without voice and without any levers of control. I'm living in a world where it's filled with empty prosperity. We're drugged up on mindless amusements, and the powers maintaining the status quo seem way bigger than me. Votes feel like they mean absolutely nothing. I can't stop a war. I can't feed a child in the developing world. Heck, I can't even get a pothole filled in front of my condo. Are you kidding me? I recognize myself in us. I wanted to give us levers of control and voice in our world as well. And there's a simple beauty in this, and I hope you can see it, that is precisely where we're all united. Everyone is united in that place, in feeling the core effects of poverty, feeling without a voice and no levers of control. And the even more beautiful part for me is that when we point those two poverties at each other, they heal one another. Their embrace returns the balance. By participating in ending global poverty, we end our own human poverty. Amazing. And it's crazy to me to realize that all along, without me knowing it, UN has always been about providing voice to the voiceless and power to the powerless. Because it's the voices that we choose to feed that become real. Voices and ideas are on a trajectory towards becoming real things, and the ones we pay attention to and give our energy to are the ones that become. We think things true. I love this old story about a great master walking through the forest with his student. And he says to the student, in every person, there are two dogs, a white dog and a black dog. And all the days of their lives, these two dogs will war. So the student thinks about that for a few seconds, and he says, well, great master, in the end, which of these two dogs wins? To which the master replies, whichever dog you choose to feed. So the end of global poverty, creating a world without poverty. By everyday people participating in ending global poverty, we end our own human poverty. That's what my voice is saying. What's your voice saying? Can you hear it? You need to feed it, because more than ever, we need to hear it. Thank you.